Dillian Whyte tells more lies and takes a L again. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Remstar Says So. Let's get right into this one. In a recent interview with Eddie Hearn's favourite rent boy, Dillian Whyte was caught lying out his absolute arse. I saw a video of Dillian Whyte saying that he's tried to make fights with all the top heavyweights and everybody's ducking him and everybody this and everybody that. Let's break this down. Dillian Whyte could have been Anthony Joshua's mandatory challenger had he had gone to Bulgaria to fight Kubrat Pulev for the final eliminator. He turned that fight down because they said that Pulev was the A side and he was going to get 25% of the purse, which was going to be about £400,000 or something like that. So he turned the fight down, and the IBF sort of scrapped him from their rankings. He then had the opportunity to fight Luis Ortiz for the 2020 mandatory slot that the WBC said, fight Ortiz and you'll be the second mandatory, and he ducked that fight. Dillian Whyte was then negotiating with Dominic Brazil for the 2019 mandatory in a final eliminator fight for the WBC interim when it looked like Wilder was going to fight Tyson Fury again. And Dillian Whyte decided to lowball Brazil, even though Brazil was the mandatory and wanted to be the A-side, so the fight never got negotiated. By the time all of that went on, Tyson Fury ran away from the Wilder rematch, and all of a sudden Dominic Brazil got reinstated back to the mandatory status. What can I say about Dillian Whyte? He's just lying through his teeth constantly. I saw a video of him saying that he offered Luis Ortiz $2 million to come and fight him, and Ortiz turned the fight down because apparently Ortiz doesn't want it. Who in their right mind thinks that Luis Ortiz is ever gonna turn down $2 million for a fight, let alone $2 million for a fight to fight Dillian Whyte? Luis Ortiz fought Deontay Wilder for $500K for the WBC title, so why on earth would he not fight Dillian Whyte for nothing, for 4 times the amount of money? And Dillian Whyte don't want no smoke with Ortiz. All he ever wants to do is criticize Deontay Wilder's record, so on and so forth, saying that he's fighting Ortiz and he's an old man, but yet he's got the opportunity to fight this same said old man, and he's running from the hills. Doesn't make any sense. The only person that I believe that Dillian Whyte has truly tried to make a deal with was Manuel Charr for that pointless WBA title, and then Dillian Whyte was he was incensed. He went crazy because Manuel Charr said that Dillian Whyte ain't nothing, and he's not on his radar. I believe that Dillian Whyte really tried that Manuel Charr fight, and he tried to get on for the WBA regular title, but that fell through. I really don't think Dillian Whyte is trying to fight Ortiz. He says that he tried to make a fight with Povetkin and Povetkin didn't want it. Dillian Whyte versus Povetkin, that would be UK pay-per-view. I really don't see why Alexander Povetkin would turn that down. And Dillian Whyte's also saying that Usyk's not on his radar. The fact is, with Dillian Whyte, his biggest issue is he's had back-to-back pay-per-view fights, and he really wants to turn into a pay-per-view star, but he's not at that level yet where he can fight anybody. So for him to fight on pay-per-view, he needs to fight somebody with a little bit of credibility. He can't just fight any Joe Blogs and fight on pay-per-view, similar to like what Anthony Joshua can. So that's where he's fucked himself. He's had so many opportunities to put himself in for a world title shot. Let's not forget, he also turned down the opportunity to fight AJ because he said the base salary wasn't good enough and he didn't agree the terms on the rematch. I don't understand what's wrong with Dillian Whyte because he was going to lose again anyway, talking all this grease. Dillian Whyte said that what he's going to do with AJ is work himself into a mandatory position, and then when he beats him, he doesn't have to give him a rematch. Now, let's be honest. He ain't beating Anthony Joshua and he ain't beating Deontay Wilder. It don't matter which one of these two guys he fights, he's going to lose to either of them. Dillian Whyte looks like he's trying to sell his second loss to the highest bidder and he doesn't really want to take any chances. When I hear people like Spencer Furin talking all this grease about Dillian Whyte, saying that, he's earned his way to a world title shot, I actually start scratching my head. The only real fight that he's had was the Joseph Parker fight, and Joseph Parker was coming off a loss. Do you know what I mean? Derek Chisora, he beat him 2 or 3 years prior. I don't really understand this Dillian Whyte hype that everybody seems to have jumped on. I just think that Eddie Hearn has brainwashed so many people. Like, when you actually look at what Dillian Whyte has done to so-called earn a world championship fight, I'm just like, nah, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. I don't know, like, I'm just looking at what he's done since the AJ fight. So he lost to Anthony Joshua, and then he fought Ivica Bakarin, and he knocked him out in 6 rounds, a guy nobody's heard of. Then he went the distance against Dave Allen, a guy that nobody rates. It took him 10 rounds to get out Ian Lewison in his 20th fight. Joe Joyce took Ian Lewison's head off in 8 rounds on his debut. He then had a split decision win against Derek Chisora in December 16. Many people thought that he lost that fight. Then he went to America to make a US debut that nobody cared about in an 8-rounder against Malcolm Tan that nobody watched. He then went the distance with Robert Helenius. This is a guy who got knocked out by a guy that Wilder knocked out, and yet Wilder fights bums, so you're fighting the bum of a bum, and he went the distance. He knocked out Lucas Brown, and this was like Lucas Brown's first fight in about 2 or 3 years. It was a good fight against Joseph Parker, I'll give him that. And then he knocked out Derek Chisora in the 11th round in December of last year. Like, the thing that I don't understand about Dillian Whyte is none of this here is showing me that you deserve a world title opportunity. I just think that Dillian Whyte is chatting for his absolute arse. He's turned down the fight that Joshua gave him. He's turned down a mandatory a final eliminator fight against Pulev. He's turned down a final eliminator fight against Dominic Brazil. Like, what more does this guy want? Like, he wants everything given to him, but he's only got one real incredible opposition, and this was a guy coming off a loss. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I'm looking at all of this, I'm like, alright, then maybe like his total fights after 26 fights, you could say he deserves a world title shot, but boy, like, looking at these names, like, do you know what I mean? I think he could have done a little bit more. Like, I'd love to see him go and fight Ortiz, but I think he's petrified of it. I really don't think he wants any of that smoke. Let me know your thoughts anyway. Like, do you think that Dillian Whyte deserves a title shot? Do you think that he could beat AJ? Do you think he could beat Wilder? Do you think he could beat Luis Ortiz or Povetkin? Would you like to see him rematch Joseph Parker? Like, what options does this man actually have? Because looking at this heavyweight division, because he's adamant of becoming a pay-per-view star, there's not much going on for him. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts. That's the end of the show because Remstar says so.